Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not something I can say I officially grew up with, as I was a 90s kid, so more so say I grew up into it, as by the time I was old enough to make my own decisions about what I was into, what I wanted to collect, what I wanted to watch on TV, um, this franchise's fan base already had some serious legs to it. Now, with that being said, um, I am a toy collector, um, but I'm not like a huge TMNT collector. What I want to talk about today is the giant 13-inch TMNT figures from 1989, I think. All the ones that you find today at flea markets or yard sales. If you're lucky enough to find them, they are always without accessories and they're always without their belts. So what I've done, I purchased this 13-inch Donatello. I saw him, he was naked, no weapons. I was like, you know what? It's cool enough. I definitely still want him in my collection. So here he stands. Um, the belt is a reproduction. And I don't think, I mean, you probably would notice if you're a professional in the line. Um, but honestly, like, he looks good enough for me. But he is missing his weapons. And I'm tired of waiting on eBay to find a vintage staff for him to hold. So I'm going to go ahead and make my own.
Okay, let's start with a couple of things that you will be needing for this task. You will be needing a dowel rod, wood finish, sandpaper, paintbrush, possibly a rubber glove, and a saw to cut up this dowel rod. And then finally some very old polyurethane. And most importantly, you're also going to need a DiGiorno original rising crust pizza. Now just remember, you're going to need to keep this in the freezer for most of this process. Right now, what you should be concerned with is the dowel rod and the length of the dowel rod. And it is a 1/2 by 48 dowel rod. Fits pretty nicely into Don's hand. So I kind of, I didn't really measure it out or anything, but I'd say about, 19, 20 inches there. And put it right there. This is where you're gonna get your super rusty wood saw out.
Zone out with me as I rise from the flames like a phoenix, fresh and clean. I get mean and I mean it. Laser focused on my magnum opus. Yeah. Hocus pocus, make the competition disappear. Let me in.
Not too bad. Oh yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of that length. Now I have these ends to deal with. That's where our sandpaper comes in to play here. So what I like to do is just keep the sandpaper flat and almost grab this like a pencil and just sort of like rotate it in your hands a little bit.
Hate me as I begin, but you'll love me before it's over.
It's looking pretty good. All right. Let's do the other side.
But you'll love me before it's over. Hate me as I begin, but you'll love me before it's over. I promise, find me like a 4-leaf clover. I'm special in you, whichever way you want it. Perceive me as fine. I digress and proceed to incline. Couple screws loose, no doubt, but I'm better off without. Flow like rain, the better the rain over you.
Just gonna wrap it in sandpaper. Just sort of hold it in my hand and twist.
Fell asleep a loser, woke up the man. Dreams do come true, but first you need you a plan. Whether it be something written or rather it be a vision executed.
All right, and then before you apply stain, You're always going to want to completely wipe down not only the stick, get all the wood shavings off, but you want to wipe down your work area as well, just to be safe. And it's looking good so far. This is where you want to get your finish out. I went with the penetrating stain Jacobine. All right. So another thing that you want to make sure you do with your stain, you always want to mix that boy up. So here we go. Got a brush. Ready to put some stain on this boy. I'd recommend going the same direction for the entire process.
Heaven sent, my residence is evident, just visiting, blending in, not hiding light, shining it, guiding light, defining it, this vehicle.
And now we're gonna wipe it down with the paper towel. Wrap it up in paper towel. Push it on through. Bam. Now you could probably do multiple coatings on this if you're not pleased with how dark that is. If you want to go darker, that's already pretty dark. So I'm probably just going to do this coating. Let this boy dry, and then you can certainly reapply. All right. So here we go. We actually waited a whole day. Couldn't really get back to it in 2 hours, but I did check it at the 2-hour mark, and it did seem fine to handle. So if you're nervous about that, I would say go right ahead. Here we go. Got the polyurethane ready to go, and I would probably use a paintbrush that you don't really care about or is kind of getting gunked up. Because it's oftentimes tricky to get this stuff off of the paintbrush to use it again for anything else. Nice even strokes.
Keep it moving like some well-greased gears or a car with no brakes, or some water when the levee breaks. Bittersweet like some lemonade, make every rapper eat their.
All right, so I'm actually gonna do the same thing I did before. I'm gonna get my clay and just let it dry on the clay. That seemed to work out before. All right, I'm gonna say that's good. So to make sure this sets properly, we will wait at least a good 24 hours. We'll come back, we'll check on it, and then we'll go from there. Now, if you're having problems passing time during these long waiting periods, I find it best to break out your old pogs that you had from when you were a kid. The trick is to only play with ones that have like skulls and axes and snakes on them, because you don't want people giving you a hard time when you're playing with these. Okay, so we went ahead and put that second coat of polyurethane on. It's all dried, and we are ready for tape. Gonna look for about where the gunky clay stuff really stops. That's gonna be where I judge where my marker is.
Heaven sent, my residence is evident, is visiting, blending in the hiding light, shining it, guiding light, defining it, this vehicle I'm riding in, the soul of mine, divine it is. Divine it is, the soul of mine, divine it is, divine it is.
Oh yeah, that is looking good. Obviously, you know, you could probably weather this in some ways, but I kind of want it to pop a little bit, especially since I think the majority of it, well, not the majority, but a lot of it's going to be covered by his hands. Let's put it in Don's hands and see what it looks like. Now you're ready for your pizza. You're going to want to preheat the oven at 400. And you're going to want to bake between 22 to 25 minutes. I usually go for 23, 29. Now your pizza's ready, and you're going to be tempted to dig into this immediately, but what you're going to want to do is have Don do a little dance on the pizza, really get him involved. And the goal here is to not invite friends over when you're doing this, because that means that's more pizza for you.